Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on BLAW Live. This is Bishop Larry Ward, and this is Bishop Larry Ward's opportunity to share with you, and that's why we call it BLAW Live. And thank you for being with us. And our objective is always to inspire, encourage, and to educate. And so, as we're talking about this whole post pandemic and its opportunities for us to come back together as a church, we thought it would be good, and we just shared about what we were doing at the church, which is Abundant Life Church in Cambridge, where I pastor. And with me tonight is our business manager and also media manager, and she's our director for all the media that you see, is Tonia Magras, and she's so helpful at helping us to share the word online and doing a number of different parts of ministry with her husband at Abundant Life Church. So we're thankful for her coming as we're talking about reopening. And many of you have been asking questions about when are we going to open up the doors so you can come back into the house of worship. So we're hoping that we can share something with you to let you know where we are in that process, and that you'll certainly take advantage of all the things that we're going to share with you tonight as opportunities to engage. So welcome, Tonia. Thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome, Bishop, anytime. I think this is a really important time because we are about 1 year into this virtual space. We started presenting online about a year ago, and I think it was the 29th. So I'm gonna have to check that date, but I think we're about a year into this. So, and we've had some meetings and discussions. So I think now is a great time as ever to give people an update on where we are and how we're doing.
Oh, it's great. It has been a long time, and kind of be frank with you, it was when we started out in this pandemic was just talking about the virus and how it has come into the United States. And they said, you got to be concerned and you got to wear a mask, or actually you got to just we want you not to come together. I said, probably a few weeks, but
Right.
wow, a year. It's like, wow, it just made, and we weren't set up really for this platform that we have right now. We had no idea that we would actually have to do our ministry online and
Right.
really to help people engage with us. And that was a major feat. And you've been very instrumental in helping us to get there. And so now that we're at the space where we are hopefully going to be able to come back together, and we're going to be doing it gradually. Here in Massachusetts, we are seeing that we're able to open up, and we have a first phase of opening where they're allowing congregants to come together and houses of worship to come together. But we want to make sure that we are careful about doing that. So where have we been in terms of our preparation up to now? What's going on?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that the state, even though the state's mandate is allowing 100 people indoors and 150 people outdoors for gatherings, the city of Cambridge is quite conservative. And I think that it's important to know that we're following the city's lead in terms of what their numbers are, but even being even more careful than that. So for the city of Cambridge, of course, their ordinance is still at 25 and 50 outdoors. So that's really kind of what we're paying attention to. But as you know, Bishop, we've had a lot of work to do this past year, just kind of building something that just wasn't there before. And I remember last year around this time, we said, okay, well, maybe Mother's Day, maybe we'll be open for Mother's Day. And then it was Father's Day, and then it was Labor Day. And we're still here. And that just kind of just speaks to the enormity of everything. But I think that when we talk about when we're going to open up the building, I think one of the messages that we need to be very clear about is that we want to protect you. When you walk into 47 Howard Street, Abundant Life Church, we want you to feel as though we have done everything in our power to make sure that all of the practices of PPE, that we have the stations, the sanitization stations in place, and all the other different apparatuses that we need to do to make sure that you're safe. So I think the first thing that we should really kind of talk about is we have removed most of the chairs except for 25 out of the sanctuary. Those are now all downstairs. And so, the space is very wide open. And so what you can expect when we get to that point is that we're going to have the rows, at least for the foreseeable future. We're not going to have the rows of people, but think of them as pods. And we will very purposely and strategically put these pods in the sanctuary so that people are at least 6 feet apart. Of course, you'll be able to sit with your family. But even to that extent, there are other kind of precautions that we need to think about, particularly when it comes with family with young children who may not be required to wear a mask. Those are the things that we are every week we are talking about this. Every week we are thinking about new things that we need to do. And it really is just to make sure that we are doing everything to keep you and ourselves safe.
Yeah, thank you. And as they come in, it's going to feel different, because you may have a picture of what it was in a year ago. You might look at it and say, wow, if I remember correctly, this is what used to be here and this is what used to be there.
Right.
And we had to put up a number of different types of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to our equipment, and bringing that to the forefront, now we were in a space of what we call hybrid. Right. So hybrid is meaning that we have some things that are, you're able to see online, and you're able to also have a live experience in worship. So as we're talking about this feel, and they're going to look at being in what they call pods, what do you think it might feel like for them?
Well, I think that church is going to be very different. I think that we are so used to, when we do gather, to really show our love for one another, to embrace each other, to, say hello, how you been? And I think that one of the things that's going to be really different is the atmosphere and the culture of church, because we won't be able to very safely have those types of things happen. I think people are going to feel that they want to run across the room and say hi to somebody that they haven't seen in a year, because that's going to be a natural reaction, and we can't really do that. We're going to have people enter the building from the front, and then everyone's going to ask to be exited out the back door. And again, this is all part of the protocols that we've put in place to make sure that, we're not having folks, think about the supermarkets and the one-way aisles. We're really trying to mirror a lot of those policies so that we're doing our best to make things different. I know that every time when you're done with your message, Bishop, and the music starts playing and, people want to congregate, and we're not going to be able to do that indoors either. It's really going to be important that we exit the building, including staff, as quickly as possible, because there's a whole sanitization process that has to happen after the use of the building. And that's happening now. Every time we use the building, afterwards, the building is being sanitized, even with us who have seen each other for the past year. So, when we think about that, you just have to maybe keep in mind that, look at all the things that are different now. When you go to the movies, when you go to a restaurant, when you go to a game, if you're able to do those things, everything is different, and church is going to be different as well.
Yeah, it is. It's going to feel a little bit different. One of the things that we'll try to do is, why we are not going to be able to kind of embrace each other and shake hands while we're in the building. Once we go outside the building, you have that little time when you can kind of what I call the meetup time, and the weather will be warm, and so you can have a meetup time when you're outside. You can pick places where you can actually see each other and make appointments to meet together. But in the building, we just got to be a little more careful and a little bit more structured. And we're hoping that the structure of how we enter into worship will not hinder anyone from worshiping. We want people to worship. We want people to lift your hands. We want people to pray. We want people to, you can say amen with a mask on. You can say amen with the mask on. But there's at least a opportunity for you to come in and together and just worship God as a congregation. So as we're starting to push forward, and we're only going to really try to get 25 in counting all the staff that's there, and then we can push it up as we start seeing the CDC and the regulations kind of loosen up a little bit. So we're going to be trying to go forward and progressively but very carefully. So just want to talk a little bit about what we as a staff go through. So when we set up these protocols, I don't want anybody to think that it's just about those who are coming in other than the people that have been working.
Right.
But just gotta give them a little understanding of what they might be in for, because this is what we're doing as
Yeah,
we go into
certainly.
Las
So,
Vegas.
so as we start to open up for a total of 25 people, folks are going to have to register. And so what will happen is that there will be a registration link that will be sent to you. You have to fill out some very important contact tracing information that is mandatory. It's mandatory by the CDC. It's mandatory for the city of Cambridge. And not doing this may actually result in us being shut down. So it's very, very important, if you do want to come to church, that you're going to have to fill out this registration. And I'm pretty sure that you all have seen this before. It asks if you've had any of the 9 symptoms. It asks if you knowingly have been in contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID. It asks if you've been out of the state in the last 14 days. And of course, it asks if you yourself have tested positive or not for COVID. And this is important because in the event, God forbid, we do have a positive case. And we just saw this. There was a news report this morning that happened in an elementary school where it went from 1 child to 35 children, and now they've shut down the whole school. So, and that's why it's so important for the contact tracing, because we want to be able to notify you as soon as possible. As soon as we know, we want to be able to inform all of you. You'll also be asked to, of course, keep your mask on during the entire time you are in the building. There are Purell sanitization stations. You'll ask to use them and just clean your hands as you're coming into the building. And we're also going to be checking temperatures. So, this is very important. It is it looks like a little laser, and it gets pointed on your forehead, and it reads your temperature pretty accurately. But it's also very important to know that this is our attempt at keeping you safe and keeping others safe. And so this is why these things are incredibly important. Our bathrooms, we're going to require that they are 1 occupant at a time. Of course, if you have a child or if someone needs assistance, yes, we're going to make exceptions, but we're really going to try and have the bathrooms have 1 occupant at a time. And these bathrooms are going to be cleaned, sanitized with grade CDC recommended products, and have those cleaned every single week. So those are just some of the things that you should expect coming into the building. And of course, as I mentioned before, you're going to be asked to exit out of the back of the building as quickly as possible. And there, as Bishop said, and I know that you also, Bishop, you're trying to think of some activities or opportunities for us to gather outside where, we have a little bit more space and opportunity to be with one another. But we want to see you all back in the building. We want to get back to what we do at Abundant Life Church, and we want to be able to connect with you. We just all have to be very, very responsible and respectful of protecting ourselves and each other.
Yeah, it's a matter of us just being patient and learning that, we have to kind of work with what we have.
Hmm.
And so in the meantime, as we're starting to think about this whole push forward to have folks back in the building, um, we haven't gotten to the point of talking about the volunteers. So I'd like to talk about, what types of volunteers do you think that we may need? Because as you're doing all the operations portion of it, and we're talking about, check-ins, and we're talking about cleaning,
Yeah.
who's going to do all of that? We need folks to kind of help us to do that. So tell us about, what that might look like, when it comes to volunteers that we need.
Yeah, I think that's a great question because we will need folks who are feel comfortable. We know that there were a lot of people in volunteer positions, the ushers, the security staff. We're still going to need those folks to volunteer. And so I just urge you that if this is something that you are comfortable doing, if this is, you want to continue in that role, to contact us as soon as possible so we can start the training process, because it'll be different. We're not going to be handing out envelopes and connect cards anymore. We're not going to be the way we do collect our tithes and offering is going to be very different. Communion Sunday is going to be very different. So, and those are all the different things that people need to be trained on. When you do register, for instance, you're going to receive a QR code right to your phone or your smart device. And that's what's going to be able to kind of streamline the check-in. So when you come to the door, you're going to say, hi, good morning. You just get your little phone tapped, and then you will be ushered to your pod. So if you are interested in continuing to do ushering or security, we want you to reach out to us at info@alccame.org so we can start thinking about how to get you trained as soon as possible. For security, it's important because, we may have some people or not that didn't register or forgot to register and still want to be able to come. And, those are the situations that we have to make sure that we handle with the greatest amount of respect and gentleness so that we can, assure that we don't disrupt anything in the building. So if you are interested, please get in touch with us, info@alccame.org, and we'd love to talk to you about training opportunities.
Yeah, thank you. And as we're looking to bring back on volunteers, reach out to your leaders who are leading that ministry as well. Um, and so this coming Sunday is again the big Sunday, or one of the big Sundays of the year, which is Resurrection Sunday,
Yep.
Easter Sunday. We're going to be starting with a very small group. We're only going to be having 25 people in the building, including staff, all our pastoral staff, our media staff. So we're going to be working on, first of all, the first tier of leaders and prayer folks that we'd like to have.
Mhm.
And then we can start layering it in where more people will be invited to come in. So I just want you to know, just to be patient. If you didn't say, oh, I didn't get invited to come to the service or anything like that, we don't want you to feel slighted at any level. We just want to let you know that we're being careful. We're being mindful of the needs that you have and the needs that we have, and we want to make sure that we're safe. We don't want anyone to be infected, and so we want to make sure that we are always taking the precautions. And so, if you find that you might feel that we're just kind of a little bit too stringent on it, I would say it's probably better that we be a little too stringent on it rather than be too loose on it.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that too, that, we have a reopening team that has been meeting since last summer. And, part of this process of starting, to bring people back slowly is really to also give these people who, in most of which are part of the reopening team, an opportunity to say, okay, well, you know what, this wasn't done. Maybe we need to do this different. And it's giving us feedback, because what we don't want is that we don't want to miss any of, the dotted I's or the crossed T's. We want to make sure that we have everything in place. Two other things I wanted to mention quickly, because I know we're starting to run out of time, is that we have, thanks to my husband, Greg, and Kyle Brown, my son, and also Javier, we have built a secured media booth. And so it is covered with plexiglass. This is going to protect the media people who have to do a lot of work. This is the work that we've been doing all year round, but it's really even more important now to pay attention and to be able to talk to one another. So that way we're not a disturbance to you, and vice versa. We have an air purifier that is in the sanctuary that we're running on off times, but there may be an opportunity where we feel like we need to run it during the sanctuary. If it is nice out, we may have the windows up, just to, again, give us some more fresh air in the building. So those are some of the things that are in place now. You may notice some signage up, and that's just even more reminders of, where people can be and the protocols for the bathroom. You may see some arrows pointing you in terms of the direction in which you should walk. So things are going to look different.
We're going to make sure that we do have that opportunity to keep an atmosphere of worship, keep an atmosphere of the presence of God. So it's going to be different, but you know what? They say where we're gathered, and even as small as 2 or 3 gathered in His name, He said He's there in the midst. So I just like you, as those who are listening, that if you have a concern about gatherings or questions or even some ideas, as we're gathering back as the church and coming into spaces and working in somewhat what I call a hybrid model, where some things will still be online and some things are going to be in person, let us know. You can certainly write us at the church at info@aocame.org, and you can actually put in your information there, and we'll get it, we'll read it, and we read the comments. We also read the chats and that you're sending us. And I just want to encourage you to stay connected with us and go to our website. And also this Easter season, and as we're coming up on Easter, share with somebody that we're online. Share with somebody, have a watch party. Just share that you're actually going to be in service and you're going to worship God, and that they can also enjoy ministry at the Abundant Life Church. And so Tonia, I want to thank you so much for really coming on tonight and sharing with me about what's happening, what's unfolding at AOC as we prepare ourselves to go gradually and reopen. So for those of you with us, we just want to thank you again. Tune into BLAW Lives as we are on Tuesday nights, and you can see and share with us. And so God bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord cause His face to shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious unto you and give you His shalom, His peace. God bless you, and have a good evening.